Hey everybody, Chris Wall here. Nice to see you. I am the executive producer and showrunner of the Wingfeather Saga animated series. If we haven't met, good evening. We are spending each Tuesday night through April and May to recap last week's episode. Every Friday at 2 o'clock we have a new episode coming out. We just had episode 5 last Friday. So many big things to talk about tonight. And I'm going to be in the chat and answering your questions as much as I can. We have a fun live stream ahead of us. We have a very special guest, Kari Wahlgren, who is the voice of the Stonekeeper, is with us, and we're going to get to chat with her for a little bit. And then we have a sneak peek of episode 6 coming up next Friday, as well as the elusive episode title reveal. Very excited about this one. I wanted to highlight a couple things in our merch store. As you know, we're community supported. All of you out there helping to make our show possible are doing that with just getting out there and buying merch, right? And paying it forward and all these cool ways that you help us to make our excellent show. And that includes cool things like this awesome mug. So this guy just dropped in the store not too long ago, and it is a Creatures of Glipwood. Nice wide mug, good sturdy thing. Has our Wingfeather logo at the bottom. Says this mug is microwave safe, in case you're curious. Yeah, we got them all. Got thwapperflies, dig toads, the whole shebang, and even a little nugget on here, which is pretty fantastic. And also wanted to show you, some of you have found this, but because a very important character is about to show up in the series here, I wanted to highlight, if you haven't seen it before, but we have this really cool locket from season 1 that Janner made for Sarah. This is the Bully Blossom locket, and it is super cool. Pops open and has a little Wingfeather logo on the back. It's just precious. A little leather thing with a chain attachment, and it comes with a little seed paper planting thing. And so you put this in water and then put it in a little soil, and you'll have some really fun stuff happening there. I think it is, do you remember what it is, Heather? My wife Heather's off screen. This one is... Wildflower seeds? No, it's not wildflower.
I'm not sure.
Can't remember what grows out of there. Well, you'll find out. You'll plant it and you'll see. But all this stuff is available at, you can go to wingfeathersaga.com and find it there in our store. Or if you want to go straight to angel.com/wingfeather, and our store is linked there. But yeah, cool stuff. Again, every time you help support our show and help us make more of these amazing episodes of this epic series by buying this cool merch. So yeah, that's cool, huh? All right, we had a really amazing episode 5, and we want to get into it. So to start that off, I think it's important that we do a little recap of what actually happened in episode 5, and there was a lot, and we'll talk about that. But have a look at this quick recap video from episode 5. Check it out.
My boys are out there somewhere.
I never asked to be king.
King, stop it!
I found your boys hiding in my tavern this morning. I sent them to Tilling Street to find you.
They never arrived. I'll have to look for help from another one of our friends.
Kids on these streets, they tend to vanish for good.
It's just the start of a pretty little never-ending nightmare.
Paxton, he put out a Strander bounty for all of you.
You'll be one of my children.
That's pretty incredible. Lots going on in that episode. Some new locations that we hadn't seen before. Many of you have read the books, and this is a really important chapter in that second book, and it's called The Sundering, and so we called the episode the same. And it was interesting kind of building up to this moment of the boys having to go different ways. I've seen some people comment in the chat, and we'll talk about it in questions in chat at the end of our time together, but you know, getting inside of Kalmar's head, right? Like, what makes him make his choices in our story? And so those of you that know the story know that there's some really fateful choices coming up, right? And so what are those kind of impulses that were driving on. We've been working on that since episode 1 of this season, starting to kind of get into his head. Episode 2, pushing that a little bit further as they were on the edge of the waterfalls, and then now getting to this point where a choice is made. So lots to talk about out of this episode, but a really key character was reintroduced, and that, of course, is our Stonekeeper. We saw her in season 1, and some of you reacted to that, like, wait, that's early. But now you kind of understand why we're weaving her into it. Brings us back into connection with Pete, kind of figure out where he is, and a really startling moment in this episode. But had a chance to sit down with Kari. She was not able to join us live, but had a chance to sit down with her and chat with her for a little bit. And so I want to play that interview for you here. Please meet Kari Wahlgren. All right, we're so glad to welcome Kari Wahlgren to our time together. Hey, Kari, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good. Man, we have had a blast getting to know you, getting to know this amazing character, the Stonekeeper, from season 1 through season 2. I don't know if you know this, but in season 1, when she was first introduced, it's out of sequence from the books because this character is not introduced to much later. And fans were like, whoa, what's happening? And also thrilled because they this amazing character, the Stonekeeper.
Yes.
You have done amazing work getting her just in this wonderful place of both. I use the word seductive, right? Because she's very appealing while being terrible. And there's a long lineage of these kind of characters. But tell us about kind of finding that voice and just stepping into her, interesting dynamic, I guess, because she has to, if you recall in season 1, she just steps in and is the Stonekeeper, and everybody's, what is this character? And so you kind of had to start at 60, like we didn't get to warm up to you. Tell us about kind of finding her voice and bringing her to life as we started, even from season 1.
Well, it's funny that you use the word seductive because that was the first one that came to my mind too, because there is something very magnetic about her, but you immediately also feel that there's something dark and a little dangerous as well. It's almost like seeing a snake, like a very beautiful snake on the ground, and you want to come closer and you want to look, but there's this sense of danger about it as well. And that was what was so fascinating about the character, even just from the first moment that I auditioned for the character. There was this sense of, ooh, she's magnetic and you're drawn to her, but yet at the same time, you know that that something bad could happen. You just feel it in your bones. And so it was really fun just as an actor trying to find that vocal quality of this character that just draws you in, and yet any second you feel like that could be a very bad decision.
Which is interesting, though, from season 1, from that first appearance where there's like that feeling, and then we saw her just a couple episodes ago meeting Pete Artham for the first time that we are aware of, and realizing they know each other in some history, and that's dark. And then now this episode 5 where, oh yeah, she's bad. Yeah, she's doing bad.
Oh yeah. You start to really get a very clear look of what she's been up to, and it's not good. It's not good.
The question has been asked for a very long time, what's going on with the Stonekeeper? We've started to learn that she has some sort of hallway fortress, something in the Foob Islands that's been mentioned. Actually, it was in episode 1 for fans at home that don't remember this. That we're in a bar with Poto the grandfather, and he's asking the Shaggy, the tavern owner, what have you heard? And he says, dark things. Dark things in the Foob Islands. Now, fast forward season 2, episode 5, we see exactly what those are.
What those dark things
which
are.
The fun part about Wingfeather, we get to set up these long payoffs, right? Of like, and then finally, what are we talking about? Oh, way over here. And there it is.
I'm a big fan of foreshadowing, by the way. And when you have the luxury of planting that and kind of creating that feeling of dread, I find that very delicious in a show.
Okay, so speaking of delicious, you have had an amazing career creating wonderful characters with your voice, right? And
Thank
this
you.
world of voice acting, I just am such a fan of the skill of the craft and our animators are too. I have to tell you, this is something that I want to. There's a whole series we're talking about making over here with Wingfeather of connecting the voice actors with the animators because there's an intimate relationship that you guys have, but never meet often, right?
Exactly. And it's always it's like a mutual fangirling, at least in my case,
Sure.
because the animators are such a huge part of bringing the characters to life. And a lot of times when I've met the animators, they say the voice actors are such a huge part of bringing the characters to life. And a lot of times we don't have the chance to meet each other. So when we do, it's always very exciting because I know part of my process as a voice actor is I like to imagine what the final artwork and the final product is going to look like. So I like to try to imagine the facial expressions and all of these subtle things that the animators bring to life. That's part of what I use to make the performance. And so yeah, I have such a huge respect for what the animators do to bring this to life.
Well, and I'm sure you've seen times when they pick up what you're laying down, and
Oh
maybe
yeah.
times when they whiff on it, right? Where you're like,
Oh
"Ah,
yeah.
I was trying to give you something, and they kind of, we've all seen this in just different performances where they kind of average the performance, and you're like, no, I gave you a little something. So I agree. It is, and it has been my delight on this show. Our animators and our animation director Ron Smith just have such dedication to listening for those things.
And we were talking about this a little earlier, but I cannot I can't get over how beautiful this show looks. Because, I've been fortunate enough to work on a lot of shows. And, just once in a while, you see the finished product and you think, man, this is such a special project. And it just looks and sounds so much more wonderful than I ever could have imagined that it was going to turn out. So yeah, this is just a stunningly beautiful show.
Thank you. And it's all the more beautiful because of great contributions from voice actors like yourself. And we've gotten that compliment a lot of times, Kari, over the run here. That whether it's we had a guy who's working on international distribution, who's just working the marketplace, selling shows, and was like, "Oh my gosh, this voice acting is incredible." I'm so thankful because we get to our writers get to root it in these amazing fantasy novels. And anytime you adapt from novel, you get just kind of richer text to play with. And it gives you something to play with, right?
Absolutely.
It's not just the kind of cursory, go get him, stop that. Just the stuff that's like hard to get into character wise. We get to pull from some really rich text.
Yeah.
Talk about finding that, there's some silly words too, right? So syntax, right? There's I'm sure each series you step into has its own set of stuff you're going to talk about, creatures, and in our case, the jewels of Anira, right? And this sort of thing. How do you find that as an actor approaching, a series like Wingfeather with this unique verbiage, making it your own?
Um, it's different for every project. You take as many clues as you can from a lot of times when you go into the audition process, you have either a little bit of information or no information or a lot of information about the world that you're stepping into. So with this one, I was not familiar with it going in. So I had to really trust the team that we were working with to sort of introduce me to it and kind of ease me into what this world looks like and what the stakes are. And that's the part about having such a wonderful team is that you guys really brought that to life for me and made it very easy. And then, of course, later I got the books, so then I could kind of go and do more research on my own. But it is wonderful, like you were saying, when you come from such a rich source material and the writing is there, you automatically get to kind of dive deeper into it. But I don't know, just with this character in general, she sort of leapt off the page for me. Like you kind of got a sense of, as we were saying, that she was kind of up to no good. And so the vibe of the world really kind of came through very early on. And then we had such a great team that they kind of filled in the blanks for me, I guess.
She has a lot of secrets that we have yet to reveal, that's for sure. But in this episode 5 was one of the hardest reveals of the series so far. And Andrew and I, when we first watched this, even in just animatics, with your voice and just kind of the magic of the system, and our friend Isaac wrote this melody, and you know, you can't go far from Ursula's song in Little Mermaid, you know, for an enchantment song, and we knew we wanted to have some sort of melody that I don't know if you know this, but that melody has a in the Song of the Ancient Stones has a kind of a minor scale that's like quite creepy and awful, but then it has a complementary major scale that we'll use later in the series, because when the song is done for selfish gain, it has one outcome. If it's done for sacrificial love outcome, it does something different. The magic actually shifts, which is really interesting. So Isaac was challenged with writing a song with both that we could play. So we've now heard the minor version of it, and it creates this really dark thing. And Andrew and I, the first time that we watched this, we're both kind of like, oh wow, that's really freaky, and that's unsettling.
It's very unsettling is a great word. I was going to say haunting. It's very haunting because the thing that I don't know, with this scene and this part of the show, the thing that's so fascinating to me is that these people are willingly going into this, and that's the thing that's so creepy, you know, is that it's not like this is being done sort of against their will. I mean, there's definitely a series of coercion happening, but they're willingly going into this very scary thing, and that's part of what makes it so interesting and extra creepy.
Yeah, and it really starts to drive at the broader themes in Wingfeather Saga, right? Which is of identity. And Andrew was kind of driving at this in season 1, when book 1, of their kids who are just in a farm. Who are they? And then they learn they actually have a bigger identity that's been finding ways to play this, because, you know, we've all seen the kind of broad villains, right? And I think what you've created here is a character who has some genuine appeal. And one of the things that we in the writers' room even set up is that we wanted to give her some places to go in which what she's offering starts to seem reasonable. Where the broader kind of stereotype of you know, I'm just dark. You know, I really enjoyed Maleficent years ago, right? Like another take on what's that side of the story, right? Let's get into Wicked. Obviously, does this, right? What is the villain's journey? For Amra, the Stonekeeper, she's the daughter of the senior witch Stonekeeper Murga, and is kind of taken upon herself some things we won't learn until season 3, some darker turns that she has made. But talk to me about creating that balance, because you can go so broad that she's just, you know, and just villainous and awful, and yet you found a way to keep her appeal there. Are there choices you're making to kind of drive us there? And just tell us a bit about that.
Well, it's so interesting. I mean, villains never think that they're villains. Villains are the hero of their own story, right? So that's actually one of the most fun things about playing villains, is that you have to kind of get into the headspace of they have goals, they have a set of objectives, and they have a very clear sense of why they're doing certain things. And with this one, we did kind of try to thread that needle of not just making her so blatantly, you know, twirling the mustache, so to speak. But I think there was this feeling for me of just always trying to find that slight piece of it that I'm helping you. I am going to make you makes things better for you're in pain. I want to alleviate your pain. And so there's a sweetness to it or a helpfulness to it, which hopefully doesn't make her completely unlikable. Like hopefully if I've done my job well, there's always going to be this tiny little part of her that seems intriguing or seems like, oh, I could see what she's doing is helping people. They don't run away from what she's doing. You know, they're just, if there's something that's just the tiniest bit ingratiating about her, that's what's going to keep, for me, that character even more interesting. Because yes, she is a villain, but there is something, again, going back to that word, seductive about what she's offering. And that's what's so fun to play.
It really is. Tell me, what's your balance of villains to heroes in your career? Such a lovely job at this. What's your
Yeah, you know what? It goes in waves. Sometimes I'm playing more heroes than villains and vice versa. But villains are more fun to play, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think recently it's been a few more villains. So I
Fun.
don't know what that says about me, but
One of the things we talked about early on in the recording with you, Kari, is the musicality.
mm,
And you have just such a natural, melodious sound to your voice. Are you musically trained? Is that part of your background?
yes, actually, I've been singing since I was very, very young. I was singing in church since I was 5, and went on to do a lot of musical theater. You know, even to this day, I do a lot of singing, and I'm always so excited when it figures into a voiceover job. Because just voiceover work in general, there is kind of a musicality to it. You're finding, your voice is your instrument, so you're figuring out how high your voice goes, how low your voice goes, and you're finding the notes of each character. But I was really excited with this particular role because we had to sing for the callback, and so I liked that was part of this particular project, and yeah, I think the music in this particular case really adds something to the character and to the show because, that's part of the transformation.
Yeah, it very much is. And music is definitely one of the magic systems in the
Yeah.
world for how transformation happens, which is super cool. You've been voice acting for a long time.
Yeah.
How did you choose this profession? You talked about you starting off in musical theater. What made the turn into voice acting?
Well, I was actually always just obsessed with cartoons when I was a kid. And apparently, I told my parents when I was 5 years old that one day I was going to be the voice of a Disney princess.
Okay.
And not a Disney princess, but the voice of a Disney princess. So even at that early age, I had this idea that there were people doing the voices in the cartoons that I was watching. So as I was growing up, would record my voice on tape and run around the house and act out stories. And, I was very influenced by a lot of cartoons. I was very influenced by The Little Mermaid. And so years later, when they did The Little Mermaid 3, I actually booked the role of Athena, Ariel's oldest sister. So that was such a wonderful full circle moment
Finally
because
got there. Yeah.
I finally got to be the voice of, technically, I guess, a Disney princess. So anyway, yeah, so it was really something on my radar from a young age. And even as I was thinking, oh, I'd like to do theater or I'd like to do on camera, voiceover was always in the mix. I want to do voices for cartoons. So I've been very lucky to get to do it.
We get the fans asking questions all the time about, I want to be an actor and how do I get started? What if you were to give a young actor a tip on, hey, here's how you can develop your skill of voice acting, what would that be?
A couple of things. You know, with voice acting, your voice is your instrument. So you have to, it sounds funny, but if you've ever left a message on someone's voicemail and you listen back and you think, man, do I really sound like that? That's your instrument. So you have to get used to hearing yourself and, you know, how high can your voice go? How low can your voice go? You know, what does your instrument do? Also, voiceover is very technical. We're just communicating through the computer right now, but if I had my headphones on and everything like that, I can't be, you know, hitting the microphone, or if I'm really doing an angry scene, I can't be, you know, smacking around because the microphone would pick it up. So there's a technical element to it that you've got to get comfortable with. And the last thing I would say is cold reading skills are very important. We've been lucky with this project that we get to read the scripts in advance, but a lot of times we don't get scripts in advance. So you have to be able to pick something up, like a book or a magazine or something like that, and just read it off the page without having a lot of time with the material beforehand. So every day, if you just pick something up and read for a couple minutes out loud, it's really going to help you in the booth.
That is some great feedback. It's interesting. Growing up, I listened to a lot of, you know, radio theater and this kind of thing. And just my parents, my family loved to do read alouds from books. And so I would sit and listen to my dad read aloud and do the and whatnot. And that kind of immersive audio storytelling and picking up. It's funny what you pick up, right? In the great storytellers. I grew up listening to a lot of Paul Harvey. Right.
Yes, the rest of the story. I did too.
Just like his cadence and how he would unpack, and you know, it just really was like, you know,
so good.
There's so many interesting. You and I are of a certain generation where we probably listen to a lot more radio and a lot more audio than maybe today. Although podcasts have really kind of taken up the slack there, and well-told podcasts are really interesting when they're dramatized in the right way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're right. I remember, I also love voice acting, but I remember hearing my voice, you know, I was young, like playing it back on a cassette and going, huh, I sound different.
Yeah.
Figuring out how to use your voice, right? And I thought I was communicating one way, and I'm actually communicating differently than I expected. And then if you pursue acting, you have people telling you this, right? Like, I'm not getting that. Can you give me something else, right? Which I think is one of the hardest things, and you are so skilled in this area, but give me something different. Right. You know, so you give them something off of a page and whoever that person is, director or showrunner, whatever, listening to it going, I like it. What else you got? And being able to have a kit of types of expressions and ways to read text cold, to your point, which I think is interesting. Because I think one of the things I heard early on, and certainly now as showrunner want this from actors, I don't love if they heavily rehearse because they will often kind of rehearse wrong or get really set into a groove, especially young actors, of a way to deliver. And it's like, thank you for working on that, but that's not what I want.
That's I think you nailed something that is so important. And I think it's a huge mistake that actors can make is getting locked into a choice. Because it's, even with a callback, like one of the things that I tell people is, okay, you've done something that's gotten you another audition, but you can't get locked into what you did for the first audition because the creative team, may be still trying to find it. And so part of your job, and a huge job as an actor, is to be able to be flexible and to take redirection and to work with the team to discover something. So if you get too locked into what you're doing or one performance, you don't allow yourself to take notes and find new discoveries.
Well, on the balance there, I'm curious how you do here, because locking into a character. So there's a point in which you're finding it. Okay, we're going to do this. But then there's the variation within that character voice. You have so many characters you've played. I mean, I'm sure there's I remember thinking about this with Mel Blanc, like how in the world does he come back to that character, right? And then of course I worked for a long time with Phil Vischer with VeggieTales, and he's got like 15 different voices. And how do you find it? Like there it is, and then find the variation within it without, oops, I tripped over into another character in my library.
Yeah, that's a great question. And the biggest thing is for me is a voice reference.
Okay.
You just pray that the engineer is going to save some lines because, like, let's say we spend the first hour finding the nuance of, okay, that's our character. If you don't save a couple of lines of that character that you found, I'm not going to remember it 3 days later because there's other jobs. You're, I don't know, my short-term memory anyway is just like, oh my gosh, what did I do yesterday? I can't remember what I ate. But it's interesting because a lot of people will have a trigger line. So even one line, if you have sing the Song of Stones, if you have that one line, it's like, oh yeah, I remember my girl. I remember where we were at.
Well, it's
Right.
interesting that you say that because what you remember of it, and of course you want to hold it, the audience will tell you if you get it wrong, right?
Yeah.
They'll hear it be like, wait, that's that character. My kids, when I do our read alouds, we read aloud at home, and I'll do some character voice out of the book differently than I did it before. Whoa, whoa, Dad, whoa, that's not the right voice. Like, oh, gee, I don't remember.
Clearly, you need to record your trigger lines for your, for your read alouds.
Yeah.
But that's exactly it. And listen, it happens sometimes that you'll be recording something and you'll have the director or somebody say, "Oh, I think it was a little off voice. Let's try it again." And that happens, That's why you have a team to keep you honest. But yeah, having one or two lines gets you back in the ballpark of the character. And then you realize, okay, this is my circle, this is my character. How do I work all the colors within that circle?
And that is the joy of working, Kari, with you, and Jody does this, of course, Kevin and others that just at a certain level of skill that's just astonishing. And I've certainly worked with others who, mid-read will wander off into some other character, and you're like, whoop, 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 come on back, and it's a lovely character, but it's not our character, right? And keeping that, I think that's a hard place because you do meet people, and you commonly, I'm sure, will meet people who can maybe mimic or imitate a voice of a character that you've created, right? Where they can do,
Yeah.
"Hey, I can do your voice from this other series, blah blah blah," and you're like, "Yep, you can," but you didn't create it. That's the hard part, and that's what
Which
voice.
is flattering, by the
Right.
way. I never want to be like, oh yes, someone's whatever. It's very flattering. But yeah, your voiceover in general, it is about finding those nuances and trying to kind of like bring the layers into the acting. So again, anyone who out there who is interested in it, it really is less about doing an imitation of something or just doing a funny voice. It's less about that and less about the acting of it and finding who is this person, not just a funny voice.
For me, I don't know if it's for you, but when I sit with a cold script, so I'll do scratch voices to start us off, right? So I will do all our scratch voices, kind of get us set for emotionally where I want the characters, right? Just kind of so that our team can kind of, all right, okay, I've got a radio play of Chris performing this so that we know where we're going. And I love that process. But I find when I'm sitting in front of that script, and it's usually late at night for me, is where I can really get focused on it. A voice kind of floats out of my head. Like it just kind of comes out of like the intonation, I know where this character wants to go, and there's some like tonality that comes in. Tell me about that. Like for you, how do you shop around a little bit when you're auditioning or kind of first getting into it? Accents, right? I mean, if not called for, playing with it. How does that come into play? Because obviously the characterization is inside of all that. But is that often given to you, or do you shop it yourself?
I think you hit the key word on the head, which is play. So many things come out of play. There have been characters that I've done in the past that have literally been created because I'm sitting around my house doing stupid noises, and all of a sudden it's like, huh, that's interesting. What happens if I explore that a little bit more? And
Do you like voice memo that for yourself right away to like make sure you come back?
I do now. I'm old enough that, I didn't have voice memos on my iPhone some years back.
These are mini cassette recorders, the little news
Yeah,
recorders.
exactly. I used to have one of those. I used to have one of those and just do that. But now, sometimes if I stumble on something that's really different and new, then I'll kind of like put it in my voice memos in my phone. Yeah, so that there is a sense of play that pops up, and a lot of times you'll get a note that they want a nondescript accent. So then you're just kind of playing, right? And so, then it's like cooking and just throwing various things into a pot and just seeing what bubbles.
Man, that's so fun. Well, everything you've done with Stonekeeper has been just so well responded to by the fans. I think that when you come from a book series, you're adapting an anime series, they have their own voices in their heads and they want to hear something. And you've definitely fulfilled their expectations in the best way. And
it's been a lot of fun.
There's more to come with her this season.
Yes.
And I
can't say anything, but it's exciting.
Good stuff. And onward, she gets to be a part of season 3 and beyond, and continue her scary ways. I couldn't believe, I think it was in our first session, that we had this overlap of a dear friend, John Hendricks, who I think you went to school with him. Is that right?
I went to college with John Hendricks, University of Kansas, and we were friends. And yeah, I mean, he introduced me to some great music, and he's such a good guy. So it was one of those wonderful small world moments of finding out that he was involved with this show.
John, for those who don't know, is a brilliant illustrator, now author, has done a number of really wonderful books, some on drawing techniques. He teaches typography at the university, and it just is really talented. He actually developed our W Wingfeather Saga with the feather logo way back in 2016 for our first Kickstarter. And John is just a really talented guy living in St. Louis area, and yeah, it was a delightful moment to find a collision point of his involvement with us in Wingfeather and yours.
Absolutely. Hi, John. If you're out there, hi, John.
Yeah. Well, Kari, we're so excited about what you just gave us in episode 5, and all the terrible deeds that you've been up to. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. More terrible deeds to come, hopefully.
But thank you so much for being a part of our show and contributing your wonderful talents, and spend a little time here to talk about those.
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so this is actually kind of fun. John Hendricks, who we mentioned, who is a dear friend, who drew some of the stuff. Anyways, he this W on the bottom of the mug here is actually the one we're talking about that John designed for us. He's got some great stuff. He has a book called Drawing is Magic that I highly recommend. And then he did a really cool book on Bonhoeffer called The Faithful Spy, which you should check out too. So anyways, John's awesome. Definitely recommend. Go check him out. Okay, it is time to get to some questions. So I've been hanging out in the chat a little bit, and I want to answer those questions that you have. And then, of course, we have a really cool sneak peek of episode 6 coming up. Some of you commented that shirt I was wearing, the blue shirt, you haven't seen it before. We have some of our merch that we've made Guild exclusive, so all of you that are members of Guild. If you look for an email that came today about this live stream, I think, there's a link in it for that Oscar shirt. It has a cool quote about the legends that's from the trailer, actually. So, oh yeah, here we go. Thanks, Heather. Yeah, this is a John Hendricks book, Drawing is Magic. He's got just a great one. Like I said, he did one on Bonhoeffer called Faithful Spy. So a couple options for you. We love John, and he's a great mutual friend. So there you go. All right, let's get into it here. We've got a couple. We'll do a speed round of questions as best I can do. We're not going to be able to put them on screen because of our setup. It's just us. Hey, Sophie. Yes, that is Toothless. I have a lot of characters in the background that are flying around in here. Got a lot of Bob and Larry. Got a Paddington over there. Love Paddington. Warden, what has been the most intimidating scene location that you and the team have had to bring to life so far? The waterfalls were certainly some of the most challenging. Just working out the geography of how we did those, getting everybody across and what would fall and what would not fall. You know, the book has some help here, but even just drawing the space, Andrew and I did all kinds of different drawings, and then me in the writer's room trying to figure out how to stage everybody out. So that was definitely one of the more challenging. And I'd say the Rockroach Den too. The Fork Factory, which we're going to spend a lot of time in the next couple episodes, had its own challenges, but not so much. What was your favorite part of episode 5? Says Lavender Moon. The Hags and the Ragman. It's funny, I was talking to Aerwiar Archives about this, that he was predicting kind of what was going to happen in season 2, and he kind of skipped the Hags and Ragman, and I'm like, I remember in the books just feeling like that was such a great set of characters, grieving parents who their children had been taken. And I wanted us to kind of get into that a little bit, and so I was really excited to feature that moment in 5 and make it nice and creepy. Oh man, I didn't even talk about this with gee whiz. Okay, so not only does she play the Stonekeeper, but there's a hag that comes up and is chasing, and can't run away now, child. That's Kari. That's funny. I forgot about that. Yeah, she did some other voices. She did some Fang voices for us too. I'm sure you can pick those out. But yeah, getting to see the alleyway and have fun with like the poster, die, 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 playing with words and just all that fun stuff. So that was great. L. Larry says, what are a few characters, and please tag me, Chris, in this chat, it makes it easier to find. What are a few characters you're excited for that are coming up in future seasons, and why? Super simple. Season 3, The Ice Prairies, coming up. We're hoping to get into production soon with your support, but getting to Chimera, some of the characters inside of Chimera are super cool. I've already seen designs on these, and y'all, I just can't wait for you to meet those characters. We're really excited to kind of build them out a bit more, get to know them more. In the book, we kind of breeze through Chimera. We're going to spend just a little more time there on season 3. So, yeah, super cool. Will you be making Wingfeather bed sheets, says Isaac Piano Kid. We are working on licensing out all kinds of cool stuff like that, doing some meetings on that in a couple weeks. Bed sheets have been talked about, yes. Yep, absolutely. Let's see, what else we got here? Isaac asks again, I see that. Will we ever hear Isaac Horn? Whoa, man, if you scroll too fast here, will we ever hear Isaac sing the Song of Stones? All right, I'm willing to work on that one for you. I actually have a little audio clip of his demo of the Song of Stones that I could find for you. Let's talk about the Song of Stones, shall we? Startling, frightening moment in that episode. I think we mentioned this a while back, but when Andrew and I saw the storyboards for the first time, we were both like, yeah, that's really creepy. Something about it just felt wrong, right? Watching a person walk in and do that, like Kari said in our interview time too. But hearing that song out of someone's mouth, wow, there's a lot going on. It is the melody, right, that we want to sing. We're not doing lyrics to it. That is the Song of the Ancient Stones. It is this thing. There is a rhyme, of course, that goes along with that. We've not built it out fully yet. We've been using parts of it, sing the Song of Stones, and the back half kind of left that off just for now. But we'll be building that out. More to come in the Foob Islands for what's next, which some of you already know what's next. There you go. Let's see, what else you got? Arcadian Wild, I don't think we'll sing the Song of Stones altogether. Art for the King, are you a Christian? This is actually asked quite a lot about Andrew and myself, and yes, we are both Christians who love Jesus and follow him, and are here to make a really cool fantasy series. I think that the series will speak for itself as to its nature of its storytelling, but we want it to kind of be free to be a full engaged fantasy series. We talked about this last week, I think, a little bit, but we're not here to do an allegory in that space. I think sometimes people ask that question. They're like, oh, you're doing a Christian allegory. And no, but we are Christians, but we're just telling a story, like a lot of other people who tell their stories. So, yeah, I think it's important. Let's see. You guys got some good questions here. Love the Fork Factory gate design, says the Warden. And thank you for your exclamations. That's the right way. That's dumb, but it is what Andrew wrote because he thought that the people would be terrible at their grammatical skills and putting exclamations where they shouldn't. We actually punched it up. I don't know if you noticed this, but we actually added it on the wall of the factory as well, and the gate, because the gate was a little complicated, so we weren't sure you would read it, so we put it on the wall, the brick wall. Interesting note, if you guys got to see our Season 2 red carpet event that's exclusive in the Guild, you can go watch that. It's a really cool 1-hour event. But in the opening of that, there's an exterior shot of the factory here in Franklin, which happens to look very similar to our Fork Factory. And on the front of it, it has a name. It's not the Fork Factory, but you should go check it out and see what it says. But it's very similar. We were totally inspired by the place that we office out of. Roving Ranger, what's a scene that you look forward to tackling most in Season 3 besides the end battle? Ice flumes. Ice flumes. Absolutely. And let's see. In episode 5, Sophie Wingfeather's asking, was the Strander kid in line to be melded? Foreshadowing. There are a lot of characters in the Foob Islands scenes that are meant to give you the feeling of different cultures and people. So one of the things about the Fangs is they're not like choosing from one people group. In other words, they're not just getting Torborons or whatever. You see some Stranders in there. You're going to see some Dugtowners. You're going to see some Torborons, maybe some Glipwood people. That's intentional. The idea is that they're just kind of snatching from everywhere, not rounding up one group of people, but all over the place. So yes, intentional. That specific character, probably not. Christy or Crystal B from Uri, are the words "Ellie was here" referring to the YouTube channel? No, but Ellie was here. Some of you saw that maybe scrawled in one of the trailer pieces. Is just a funny bit that happened. There was a couple of marks on the wall, and one of our artists, named Ellie, some of you watched her behind the scenes stuff on the making of our show, decided if I just put a little E right here, my name's in the show. And we decided to leave it because we thought it was funny. What is your favorite... Jaffa, I skipped over it. Apologies. Oh man, you guys are really going crazy here. Okay, sorry, backing up. Here we go. Warden, can we get a Season 2 poster bundle in the annual store? I don't know. I'll ask. Melding scene, absolutely incredible. Loved it. Thank you, Sophie. That was we worked on that a lot. I will tell you, all right, if you have watched our episodes as they stream on Friday, fantastic. Thank you for doing that. There is a little bit of a reward for going back and watching again later, because there are some things that we screen and we go, I want to do that differently, and we tweak it. Melding Chamber is going to have an update probably this week. There's a little thing we wanted to try, just a little differently there. There we go. All right, what's your character in Wingfeather? Love Janner. Will there be a sneak peek or glimpse of the Ice Prairies in Season 2? Jaffa asks. Will there be a sneak peek or glimpse of the Ice Prairies in Season 2? Yes. And it's super cool. We've actually, Heather's laughing off screen. We've seen it. It's really, really cool. Trust me.
So good.
Yeah, Season 3, y'all. You really want Season 3 to happen when you see that. It's like, oh my gosh. Are we going to see a certain type of Fang in Episode 7 as a credit clip, says Isaac Piano Kid? I'm not going to answer that, but maybe. What is your favorite Arcadian Wild song? It's the one that we Laura, thank you. Love that song. It's great. Let's see, what else? I can't spell Fork Factory without exclamations. I know. I spelled it once without an exclamation, and Andrew chided me immediately. He's like the punctuation boss around here. All right. When will season 2 be out for non-guild members? Well, it's first going to be available for purchase. So it will be available on DVD, Blu-ray, and digital purchase if you want to go that route. Coming up here, we think in early July is what we're working on. So they're working quickly on that. Excited to be Sarah. Whoa, the scroll thing happened. How many times is Jenner whipped? I'm just going to tell you right now, we decided not to whip Jenner. Just set your expectations. We certainly have the whip being driven, but we do not have him whip any child. That was just a line we didn't want to cross in TV. It's in the books, and you can certainly read the books and get that. There's a lot of things we're changing here just to kind of make it so it still plays for TV, because your imagination, as you're age appropriate, will fill out as you know the world, right? As you're older, you can imagine it more detailed and perhaps graphic than when you're younger. That's the great thing about imagination. In visual mediums, you make it specific, right? I'm telling you exactly what it is. And so I may be blowing your imagination like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize the world was so graphic. And for an adult, like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I've seen. So we try to find a middle ground that's appropriate for families. Does that make sense? So we're not trying to duck the punch per se, but we're trying to make it appropriate and let your imagination fill in other things. All right. In season 2, episode 4, why was the girl with a pearl earring on the wall in the house? Because the artist thought it was a cool painting and wanted to do an homage to it. But thank you for noticing, Ember Wingfeather. Can we please get a Merrily shirt, Sophie? I want one. Yeah. I don't know what Garrett and Brock are working on, but I will tell them we want that. It's a great question. I like it because we like her a lot. Happy birthday, Uriah. Hey, man. Welcome. Happy birthday. Gray Fangs, not going to answer that one. Carry the Fire, Emily Sands. Is Carry the Fire. If you were at our red carpet event or watched it in the guild, you know that there's a very special song that's part of this season. And yes, you're going to start to hear it very soon, actually. I'll be curious to see who can pick it out in episode 6. Will episode 6 be darker than episode 5? I mean, Luminance Omega Wingfeather? Yes, it will be darker. As far as intensity, I don't know. It's all pretty intense for me. Oh man, you guys are just hammering the questions. Okay, we're going to just do as fast as I can go here. Why is Fork Factory so amazing in the newest episode? Because Grace the Raptor, it's just a great location, and you're going to get to see some more of it really soon. Ice Prairies probably get shown with Janner and merrily walking up a rise, and the camera raises, and we get to see the looming hill of Mog Balgrick, says the warden. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. You been reading the books much? Yeah. Let's see. Who's older, the Overseer or Mobrick, Digital Fairy? Overseer or Mobrick? You know, it's interesting because Ridge Runners age differently than humans, but I think the Overseer's had a hard life. I don't think he's actually as old as he seems. So I'm going to say the Ridge Runner's older. Mobrick. Will we see Snick Buzzards in this season? Yes. And the creepy belly button. Very briefly. Yeah, we have a great bit in season 3. We just go all the way on the belly button in season 3, trust me. What is Janner's middle name? Ooh, I don't know that he has a middle name. Do you have a finalized design for Snick Buzzards? We do. They're great. What's your favorite book in Wingfeather Saga? It is book 2. I love just all the complexity of it, but 3 and 4 are fantastic too. 1 is charming to start us off, but then it's 2, 3, and 4 are just so good. And what is your how is season 3 funding go far, Sophie? Season 3 funding. So guys, as you know, each time we release, we try to look for different ways for revenue. So in Pay It Forward, which was when we did it last year, it was free for everybody, and then you guys paid it forward, and that went really well. It did really well. Season 2, Angel Studios now has a guild, which has allowed us to say, hey, you can really directly support the show by joining the Wingfeather Guild, and for your $12 a month or $20 a month, that's going straight to helping make our show. And so thousands of you have shown up and set us up in that way, and that's the start of it. It's really good. We do need more. That's all there is to it. We need more people to watch it, more people to either join the guild or maybe buy it when it becomes available. And those kind of revenue triggers are what we're looking for to say, okay, now we can fully greenlight season 3. To be clear, you guys, we fund the production. Angel Studios just sells it. Okay, Angel Studios is our distributor. They're awesome at that, distributing marketing. We fund it and make it. Okay, so when you are part of our show, when I say that, you're funding us, the guys over here at Shining Owl Productions, our little team that make the Wingfeather Saga, and then we hand it over to Angel Studios and they sell it and market and distribute it. Okay, Angel Studios is not. It's not like Netflix or Amazon, and so what that means is we get to tell the story as we see fit. The one that's in that book, right? The one that's in those books is the one we're telling you through this animated series, not with some committee of executives somewhere telling us about this or that or what they want to change, or should be appealing, or what we should do to be kind of on trend or whatever. We get to make the show that we see faithful, myself and Andrew as executive producers. That is fantastic. And that is part of us being community supported. So you're going to hear a lot more from us in the coming weeks, because as we finish season 2, you're really going to want season 3 bad. And we're going to need your help. And the first thing you can do, a lot of you keep asking, how can I help? Tell your friends to watch the show, right? Go hop in the guild. It's $12. You spend more than that on other entertainment. Trust me, go to the movies. You're going to spend way more than that to go to the movies. We're giving you 7 episodes of an amazing series. I'm so proud of it. And I just don't think it's very costly for what you're getting, okay? Honestly. Even if you only support for 1 month, but maybe support for longer, that will help us to get into season 3 and get going again. We are on hold. Season 3 is on hold. We are not moving forward at pace. We're very slowly kind of making some assets, but we need your help to get us going. And as we finish season 2, trust me, it's gonna get intense. Y'all are gonna be hammering on the doors here. Will there be a Wingfeather board game or a role-playing game? Yes, we're working on both actually. Hey Darcy, will there be a Featherfest 2024? Yes, we want to do more of these. We're talking about making those regional, actually, and perhaps in July, looking at maybe some events in specific areas. We know we have a lot of Wingfeather fans. Hello, Texas, I see you. But yes, we're going to do some more of those kind of events, just to get fans together, talk about the show, talk about the books, the story. Yeah. Omega Wingfeather, where'd the crane that Mobrick Levon come from? And so it's not a crane, but I guess kind of, but yeah, we have all these chain mechanisms with pulleys, and so we actually designed a mech. If you listen to sound design, you're going to hear that the characters will do like a pull down and then and get pulled up out on these chains. It was something, the description of the book about the maintenance managers kind of coming out of nowhere on chains, that we wanted to really develop it out. Oh, hey Fizz, how are you? Haven't seen you. The Snick Buzzard. Azog, very well played. The Snick Buzzard should give its belly button to Mr. Lunt. That's good. That's very funny. Did you guys see there's a Rack Shack and Benny that fans remade the entire episode as part of the 30th anniversary? It's on YouTube. It's brilliant. They did it in Blender. The textures, the rendering is better than I worked on that episode a number of times, redoing it for various things we did at Veggies. It's a blast. You should see it. So Rack Shack and Benny remolded, I think is what it's called. Anyways, it's really fun. How many chapters are in season 2? Up through chapter 49. We've done a read-along. If you're part of the Wingfeather fan group on Facebook, we've been doing a read-along of the chapters that kind of correlate to each episode. So go check that out. It's kind of fun. All right, Fizz, sorry you were late. Will y'all be at Texas Homeschool Convention this year? Maybe. We're talking about different conventions. We can go visit you guys and talk about Wingfeather. So, yeah. What Harry Potter house would Kalmar be in? He's pretty gung-ho. It's probably Slytherin, because he's kind of he wants to go get stuff. And yeah. Not bad, but he's just aggressive. He wants to go fight, win, you know? Episode 5, Sarah Cobbler. Where is she? I'm sorry, Shooting Star Studios. You were just like, where? I know she's here somewhere. Don't leave, because at the end of this time, we're going to show you a clip from episode 6 that you're going to want to see. All right, I'm going to hit a couple more of these, and we're going to wrap it up. Snake Buzzard belly button, just, yeah, trust me. Oh, Jaffa asks, will the Wingfeather Saga books be released in Canada? I think they're there. That's kind of weird. I think so. Yeah. Sorry. They're in like so many languages already, and not saying that Canada is a language, but I know they're distributed all over the world. So I'd be surprised that that you wouldn't have them. But yes, okay, yes, I'm gonna probably come to Texas. Do you know when we'll be able to listen to the Arcadian Wild soundtrack of season 2? Summer, probably June or July. Will there be 16 episodes in a season like Bad Batch? We're not Disney Plus. That is a lot of money to make that much stuff, and we're a little smaller than that. Okay, you guys have had some great questions. Really appreciate it. All right, episode 6 coming up this Friday. Is the penultimate episode, right? So episode 7 next week, the week after, is our season finale. And you guys have been waiting patiently, and every week we release the title of that next episode. Episode 6 is entitled, there it is, The Fork Factory! Exclamations included. Fork Factory. Here it is, y'all. I don't think you were surprised by that at all, were you? Yeah. So yes, Fork Factory is episode 6 coming up on Friday. And I think you're going to really enjoy it. It kind of sets in motion what's all going to happen to the season finale. And it's a lot. Yeah. All right. Have you considered making LARPing weapons based on the show, says the warden. Yeah, that's a fun idea. We actually really want to do costumes. That's on our radar, so we're working on that. Okay. This has been great. It's great to see you all. Thank you all for chiming in the chats. So fun to see you there. And thanks for tuning in, guys. We have a very cool clip from episode 6 to show you to finish our time. As you know, Janner has unfortunately been captured and put into the Fork Factory. And it's not going to go all that great for him. But check out this clip to end our time, and I will see you next Tuesday. Have a good night.
New tool's gonna run.
Baits are bent. You get a day in the box.
Stop. You can't get out. Sarah?
Yeah.